Hey, hello, everyone. It's Jason Fierno here, representing the Mining Mavericks. The Mining Mavericks are a curated group of industry leaders who are passionate about making the industry better and more sustainable for everyone. Today, I'm fortunate enough to be joined by Alex, and Alex will say his last name properly so I don't butcher it, of Progesis, and he is currently the business development executive. Alex has had several roles and internships around the industry, including positions at IM Gold, Kiewit, Osisco Gold Royalties, SNC, BBA, and has a bunch of degrees. He must like to study, but he's got at least one MBA, if not two, as well as a bachelor in mine engineering. One of the things that you said is that you're aiming to improve human relations, connectivity, and goals toward happiness, self-awareness, and societal success. You know, I really love that, and I think that's definitely in line with the goal of the Mavericks. You and I have had a few conversations before, Alex. I am really excited to have the opportunity to feature you here today and hear what's on your mind. So first things first, will you pronounce your last name for us?
Yeah, sure. So this is Alexandre Michaud Morasse, the French way. And Jason, I'm so happy to be here today and have this discussion with you.
Yeah, excellent. So that's who you are on paper.
Yep.
Who is Alex really?
I think I'm very somewhat passionate about human relationships. It started a long time ago at university during a leadership class. Actually, I was very thrilled to understand what was leadership and why people were following one instead of another. So I think that really my journey started there in terms of development, and that's what triggered my curiosity since then.
And is that theme of leadership and development, is that a common theme across what has driven you to seek multiple degrees and continue further education?
Yeah, well, all the degrees, it was, I think, was the first plan, even before, because I started my MBA, that I had this leadership class that changed a bit the path where I was going. But at beginning, I think I was just going on a regular path, had my mining engineering, was doing my MBA. I wanted to do something, be part of management, I think, back then. And since, I think I'm a bit more curious about human beings and how we can make the journey a bit more fun and human, actually, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the poles and one of the cornerstones of our conversations, Alex, and our relationship is, you know, I think we both put a lot of energy into mindset and the human element of things. So I think what I'd really like to dive into today is exactly that, you know, how people think, how people behave. So, you know, you put a lot of focus and energy into mindset. What where are you focusing currently?
I think right now, when it comes to mindset, is really where do we want to focus our energy? And I think one of the key is really self-development. You have to start with self-development. So what type of human being you want, and where do you want to put your focus on the day-to-day? So I'd say most of my focus right now is really like shaping this personality that I want, and the person I want to become, actually, day to day. What can I do to improve myself on a daily basis? And that's where I put my focus at the moment. It's all comes to a mindset at the end of the day, like we just shared together. And what is key here is really like it has to be aligned with your patient, I think, as well. To very like extract all the value of this path.
Okay, that's a, I'm not surprised. Not a connection that I've made myself or have heard. So tell me, I want to get a little bit deeper on that if we can. Tell me more about how mindset and evolution, human development relates to patience. Give me your take on that.
Yeah, well, there are two separate things, but I think the path comes, they join on the path. When it comes to mindset and going back to neuroscience and like behaviors, it's really about the beings. Patient is really what's going to drive you. to develop the right mindset, I'd say this needs to be aligned with who you are and what drives you on a daily basis. Mindset is going to be just where exactly I'm going to put my energy. And I feel that sometimes people, they get lost a bit and they don't follow their passion. And it's just due to a lack of awareness. And then the fact that they're not using one of the greatest assets that we have, which is our mind, on the proper way, which is actually to bring more awareness in their life and just make them realize where am I patient, and is what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, what I'm believing is aligned with what actually is truly driving me inside.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. I appreciate that. A couple of things. One of the things that I think is that awareness, mental awareness, and emotional intelligence is something that it's an area of opportunity within the industry to help improve. I think you and I are passionate about it, no question, and we'll continue to talk about it. But what I wanted to provide context on is I think that there is more opportunity within our industry and others to focus more on human behavior, how our minds work, why people make the decisions that they make, so that ultimately we can drive to the results that we all desire. I want to reflect on one thing that you said earlier, and then we can, I'll stop talking and we'll let you talk, because that's what we're here for. But one of the things you said resonated with me. I believe that fundamentally as humans, we make decisions based on what our beliefs and our values are. And that becomes the core of how we shape our lives, why we go left, why we go right. With that, the first thing that I say to people, and some people have heard me say this, but I think it's worth repeating. When I'm going into a relationship with somebody, whether it's personal or professional, first thing I say is I don't work with jerks. I don't have to, I don't want to. The second is I will only engage with people that have the same ethics and integrity as me. And then the third is forever learners. So I want to engage with people who are forever learners. And I know that as I sit here and look at you and knowing our conversations in the past, you definitely fall very cleanly through those first three kind of filters. But the forever learner is significant. I think it is significant. One more thing, and then I'll turn it to you. Roy Dalio says in his book Principles that the greatest gift we have as humans is evolution, and that goes to the forever learner side of things. So what are your thoughts on that, Alex?
Yeah, I love the principle of evolution, and following a book that I really enjoy reading, which was Evolve Your Brain from Joe Dispenza. What was actually very impressive and exciting, I'd say, is how actually we can take control over our own evolutions when we refer to that book. And that comes back to the focus and mindset, which means that within that book, it mentions that where you put your focus in life, that's where your energy is going to flow. And this is going to actually influence how your neurons, so your neuronal network works in a way that it's going to modify your DNA, which means that what you're going to leave to your kids, it's going to be different depending on how you're going to live your life and where you're going to focus in your life. And this is, I think, very, very interesting in a way that you can actually influence the evolution of the next generation just by the way you focus in your life. So I'd say that's my input about evolution and why it intrigues me so much as well. And when it comes back to the learning pattern, I think it's I forgot the quote from Gandhi, but it mentioned that something like you can learn forever. You have to live every day like at fullest, like if live your life as if it will be ending tomorrow, and learn as if you will never die. So like you mentioned, you just keep learning. life is a pattern, life is a journey, sorry. And there's many ways actually to conduct that journey, and one of them is learning on a daily basis. I think it's experience in life, at least.
Yeah, no, that totally resonates with me, and I totally agree. I hadn't heard that Gandhi code,
No?
so we'll have to pencil that one down for future use. So thank you for that. What where is your focus right now? Like, what are you pushing yourself to learn right now?
Right now, I'm reading actually about trust. Trust is and I found it just it was in your poll today. It was very, very interesting, but that's exactly what I'm reading about. I'm reading Speed of Trust. The book, very, very interesting, and I want to understand how people. I'm still very intrigued about how people connect between each others and how we can create something bigger than ourselves. And I'm reading about and I'm learning about the fundamentals of this. And trust is, I believe, one of the key one that allows humans to interact between each others without any, without any pain, but without any filters or anything that holds one to the others. It speed up everything, actually. And very, very interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, one of the where my head goes when you say that is it's a common theme, not 99 out of 100%, but 100% or 100 out of 100% of the time. What we hear so frequently is that within our industry and others, I'm sure, is that there's just a lack of trust, and so many things. And yeah, you mentioned the poll. We're the next Mavericks roundtable discussion. We're talking about partnerships and personalities, and also collaboration. So the poll is what do you need to see, or what are the primary elements of that are key to a beneficial collaborative model? And what's leading the polls right now is trust, and I think that's not really by surprise, I guess. But did you say you're reading a book called The Speed of Trust?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more. Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's by Stephen Covey. What's
Okay.
the book? They just how to no. Sorry, I was thinking about his father because his father wrote it's the 7 something habits of highly effective people. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Highly effective people. That's his father.
Yeah.
So very, very great book. And his son wrote The Speed of Trust, and it's talking about the trust within companies, but in our life. And I like the comparison that you made. You mentioned like relationships. I like this idea of like actually interacting with any human beings and business. It's like going on a date. It's so much like going on a date. You know, you don't know exactly who's you're gonna end up in front, but it's all everything's gonna depend on how you're gonna interact with those peoples, and it all comes back to human relationships. So no matter if it's for business, friendships, loves, all are the same principles. And I love to talk about trust, even more on my date, which is funny, but this is so much the same thing when it comes to business. And one of the biggest breaks of trust is fears. Fears. And one of the big questions I like to ask is that usually when we get hurt, and it's maybe what's happening within a business, I'm just going to make the comparison here. When we get hurt, our brain is looking for something very quick. What's the reason? Why did we get hurt? The brain wants to answer quickly so it can like put the tag and say, okay, at least now I know.
Yeah.
And most of the times in relationships, what happens is that when someone break our trust or hurts us, the first element that we think it is that because we trusted that person. And then our brain associate the pain to trust, which create a pattern after that. So you start next relationship with less trust. You say, no, this time I won't give my trust. I won't be so quick with this. I'm going to let the other person earn my trust. And I think that's a pattern that is more common than we think. And that is what has been affecting maybe the business, but also I think relationships. Because when asking the questions, what do you need to build up any strong relationship? Well, the answer is trust. So how do you want to start a good one without giving your trust to someone? So I think it's a very interesting pattern here.
No, it is. I think let's talk about it more because I'm highly interested and have some other things ruminating in my mind that I want to chat through with you. But I I agree. I see the pattern. I understand what you're saying, and it's logical. But I think it's also really true. What I would extend it to another concept, and the concept is around self-confidence. So not only the relationship side of it between you and I, or my wife and I, or my kids, or clients, whatever, but the uh, the way to have an extreme self-confidence is to have a just a positive view of yourself, one, but the other is knowing that you can handle yourself in any situation emotionally. But then the third is trusting yourself. So if you say today it's I'm gonna exercise for 20 minutes, and you do it, then tomorrow it's more than likely that you could do it again because you trust yourself and you have confidence in your ability. When you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm going to work out today or exercise for 20 minutes this afternoon, you're going to do it. So then you have confidence in yourself throughout the day that you're going to do what you said you were going to do. So I think trust, not only in relationships with other people, is important, but trust within yourself. What are your thoughts about that?
I totally agree. It comes back to the start of discussions. It's all started with ourselves, with our self-development. And what is so interesting here is that, like you mentioned, the work that is the most impactful is always the one you do where nobody's looking. So it's always on yourself. And it's the same thing. What you say about others is as much more impact when these people are not there and you're saying it to other person. And if it's going to be positive, but even if it's negative, people are going to remind that because you're talking behind the back of someone. So it's more of the time what you do. What is the most impactful is what you have discipline to do when nobody's looking. That's the dark heroes, I'd say, but I love this mentality of like that's where you have to put the work is really on yourself, and it's not about a show, it's not about like earning something out of it, it's really about like becoming. That's where the key is. So yes, trusting yourself is, I think, it's a challenge for a lot of us, depending on where you comes, depending on your journey, depending on what you've experienced in your life. It can be more challenging for some and easier for others. But it has to start there. And in order, I think, to get there, that's where the mindset comes in. All the work about the mindset is like, how am I talking to myself? And how can I put more discipline so I can trust myself? And then when people are watching, I'm sure it's going to happen because I've been doing it so many times in the dark.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. That's powerful. What I would call forward is to say that we're our own worst enemies too. And there's a lot of self-sabotage that happens when people allow it to happen. It's easy to be critical on yourself, and which breaks your trust, but also breaks your confidence. So I think with that, it's just conceptually it's interesting, but it's so true. And I think what I've been saying to people is just give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace as a human. We make mistakes. Just try not to make the same mistake twice. But allow yourself to be human and give yourself some grace. But also working on that internal trust, because if you have that internal trust, then and only then can you really lean into another human and share that same type of trust. But trusting yourself first is key. It's huge. So yeah, keep going, Alex. What else is on your mind on this topic?
Oh, there's all intertwined. The topics we've been talking about, so that was very, very interesting, and that's what's passionate. You can see it, maybe, or hear it. It's what's passionate means, like how I make the connection in my brain, and I see that all of these things that you can work in, they're all interrelated, and that is so interesting. But you have to start somewhere, and yeah, when it comes to trust, is like you mentioned, it goes back actually to how you want to live your life, and it's a perceptions, and then it's a mindset. And I want people to realize that they have all the tool actually in their hands, because life can be lived only by within actually. And that was I realized this the first time because of on Facebook there was a video of I think someone from India, like not a shaman but a spiritual leaders.
Okay.
And he asked a question to the crowd, and it was very very interesting. What going to come out from this moment is asking to the crowd just to point fingers at where he is. So he has point where am I right now? So he's on the stage. There's like 1,000 of people in front of him. First reaction, everyone's point at him. And he's asked the question again. No, point exactly where am I? And then people start thinking, and you think like, oh, there's a trap, there's something.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is very easy. You just go back to how sight works, and he says, what exactly happens? What you see is like just a reflection of the pictures that comes to the eyes, and then it's inverse, sending the electrical signal to the brain, and then the brain interpret the message. So everything that you see actually is in your mind. It's in your head, and you decide what's going to be the interpretation of it. And that was the realization for me that actually that's how it works your five senses. That's how you feel, that's how you see, that's how you touch. So all your life is you're going to feel some stuff that's coming from your external environments, but you do have the controls to interpret that message that you receive. You're going to receive a stimuli, it goes to the brain, and your brain, you have the choice. You have the power to interpret this message, to say it's something positive, negative, you like it, you don't. And I think that's where lies the real power here.
You're spot on. You're 100% spot on. I think it came to me in a different way, but the same revelation in the sense that we have the ability as humans, that we have a superpower really with our neocortex, but we have the ability to decide and make the choice. Oh, is this good? Is this bad? Is this ugly? Is this pretty? Is this make me happy? This make me sad? Those are all choices that we have, and we have the ability to do that. It's a learned skill, but it is nonetheless a skill set that we can develop and work on and grow and evolve. So I think that's really powerful. So let me change gears a bit, because I think you and I can talk about this all day. We love it, and it's really significant and impactful to me. Not what everyone thinks about, so it's maybe an atypical conversation for the industry. But what I would want to ask you, Alex, is how do you apply your study, your mindset, your knowledge of how we operate as humans? How do you apply that in a positive way to work, to what you do for your clients, what you do for projects?
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. Yeah, it's because how do we apply it on a day-to-days? You use all that we mentioned, all the to actually make your life a better journey. And works is like a big part of your life, and it's supposed to be a definition of what passionates you, your patience. So how I use it, I'd say becoming a better, I don't like the better human being, but learning and like developing yourself allows you and permit me to interact in a different way with my clients and with the industries, in order that I dream of creating something bigger, of changing the industries in a way that people have, like you mentioned, there's a lack of trust. How can we tackle this? How can we have fun back? Being patient. I remember my grandparents having so much pride in their works. How we get back there? Why? What happened? Why it's all about trust now? Sometimes it's about money, and those topics I don't want to dive deep. But I think there's a lot of potential here. Mining industry is just where I landed on, let's say, and there's a lot of potential. So for sure, I want to make the journey with my clients, with the people around me, with my friends, a better journey, and see all the people having fun, find back their passions. Because no matter if some people, I was talking with a guy that I love, is Nathan Stubida, is a VP technology at Sherwood International, and he's trying to provocate some stuff as well in the mining industries. And we had a discussion. Is was where is the passion? Why you want to attract more young people? You want to, and the first mistake I think the industry have done is we started with giving better salary, and then it was conditions. So I had a small talk with him, so with Nathan, and it was like, why don't you give them passion? Why mining cannot be somewhere where its passion thrives? What exactly people are looking for when it comes in mining? It cannot be money, because if it's money, there's a real issue here.
Yeah.
But I think people, like on my side, it was, you can travel. There's all this interaction with the environment. There's the potential to do things better, it's different. We're feeding the worlds in a different ways, but that's what the mining industry is doing. It's feeding the worlds with minerals instead of food. So there's so many ways to see these industries and to improve and bring back the passion. And so we have much more pride and trust between each others, and have fun completing those projects, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. That hits really close to home for me. Mark Cutifani recently said that mining impacts the global economy, or 45%, I think was the number of the global economy, and only touches 0.5% of the habitable land on the planet, whereas farming hits 50% of the total habitable land. And I was talking to a friend and colleague about that, and he said, that's true, but 100% of the people need to eat. And it's like, that's true too, but you can't eat if you don't have what mining provides, if you don't have metals, if you don't have transportation, storage, a refrigerator, all of those things, then everybody needs to eat, but you also need the resources, natural resources, to be able to benefit from the food and to share it on a broader scale. In that same conversation, what we concluded is that people that get the job done and people that say what they're going to do almost always have an internal passion, something that propels them to get to that solution, which means, in my mind, like, how do you create passion? How do you instill that in somebody? So what are your thoughts? How do you go about trying to ignite people and create that passion?
I'd say you're doing it greatly in a way, and people are not aware. It's listening to the people, allowing people to express themselves, and you're going to start hearing a bit more about what's passionate them. When you try to guide, and there's a lot of trap in life, and I love to see life as a balance. You need some pain, and you need to actually feel the good. And yeah, when it comes to patience, I think the greatest asset that we have is, like, from our leaders, is those that have the real capability to be totally aware when listening. And then people, they're just waiting for that to talk about what's passionate them. It just, I think, so many times we don't take the time to listen properly and to hear out exactly what drives them deeply.
I think that's great. I appreciate that, Alex. That's really good. And I think it's true. If you can find a way to be the best listener in the room and have a genuine curiosity or interest in the person that you're talking to, you're going to figure out through conversation what drives them, what they're passionate about, if you truly care. And that's the kicker. You have to actually care. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts? Like, how do you how do you teach that behavior, or how do you work with individuals to help them slow down and listen and ask questions and be curious?
That's a great challenge because, it's pretty tough we cannot change anyone. We can bring more awareness upon them, but they always have the choice and to apply or not, to believe or not, and it's totally fine. How we can help them, or what the tools we can give to them, is always throughout educations. So we need to talk more about this to make it more easier to talk about this as well. All the change we see in our societies, it starts back with the youngest generation, and that's why I love usually to put my energy there. It's like that's how you're gonna shape those young folks. That's gonna have the real impact on the long term, because it takes time. There's no like fast solutions, I believe, that you can apply. And if I say that, it's gonna happen like this.
Yeah.
All that stuff, change always needs time, and it needs you to believe in it as well. So for the older, it comes to them. They have the choice to decide: do I want to do this? Do I want to take the time to do this? A lot of people, as you grow older within business, time seems to be so rare and so hard to find. So do I want to make the time as well is a good question. And why exactly, as you grow on your career path, why is time becomes so rare? That would be maybe a opening for another topics, but it comes back to a lot of pattern within societies and ways of we believe where success is, or where happiness is, that led us to where we are today.
It's all, I mean, you're right. It's all interconnected. I mean, it's all interconnected. You said people don't change, and you're right. People don't change unless they want to. But the truth is that you can change if you want to. It's just hard. And through your studies of neuroscience and stuff, that through time and practice and patience, to your point, you can actually rewire your brain to think differently. And I didn't appreciate that when I was younger in my life, and now having an appreciation for that and being able to rewire my own brain in certain areas, I think there's a lot of power in that. But I also think that there are more people talking about it within our industry, but I think it's definitely a topic that doesn't get discussed very frequently. And I think we're missing an opportunity. I really think that we're missing an opportunity. What me and my team say is it's people build projects. People build projects. Yes, you need systems. Yes, you need equipment. Yes, you need materials, but it's the human element that really drives a successful project or not. So how do we focus more on human behavior, more on relationships, more on how we behave ourselves individually? How do you apply that to the team? How do you apply that to the project? And I think very strongly that type of thinking is going to be part of the step change, part of the statistical reversal in our industry from 98% of all mega projects overrun by 30% or more. Like, dude, that's stupid. How do we get around that? And I think a lot of it comes back to mindset and neuroscience and relationships and collaborations and how we coexist. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's two things, there's how you want to build projects, which gonna needs to actually segment everything. We're gonna cut this project in smart pieces. Sure. But what we're not aware is that's something we cannot do with human, I think. And what I want to say is that we're saying right now to the people, let's build a wall, let's build this, let's build that, instead of saying, hey guys, we're building a cathedral. we're building a mega projects. Let's have pride. Don't say to your sons, you know, the worker, they going back home, their families, they want to say, they want their kids to be proud of them. And that's that. When you're part of the mega projects, you should feel pride, you know. I'm not just doing this. I'm not, no matter what's your role in these projects, you're building the projects, which is different. That the way we separate these projects, for sure, we're going to need to divide all the parts and everyone put the focus at the right place. But how do you sell a project to the workers? It needs to be to give them the big pictures. There's where you need a bit more like emotional drive-in, a bit more passion, motivation, and that's something that is lacking within the industry. How do you bring all these peoples together to build these things?
I totally agree. One of the things that you just touched on that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about, we've been talking a lot about how our brains work and how we think and how we behave. The other piece to that I think is absolutely vital is our emotions and our emotional intelligence. One, and I think that's a huge component of how people behave. The other, which is something that I've been focused on a bit more lately, is your positive intelligence. I'm reading a book right now called exactly that, Positive Intelligence. I think you'd like it, Alex. I can't remember the author's name, but I'll get it to you. But I think having a positive outlook, I know having a positive outlook is also beneficial. Mm-hmm. And I think, so I believe it's your IQ, EQ, and PQ that really can help shape how you make decisions and how you feel that pride, as you said, being proud of being on a mega project and delivering something of such scale and significance. So thank you for that. It's really powerful, actually. So one of the things that, well, before I ask another question, do you have any more that you want to contribute in this area or talk about in this?
Oh, well, emotional intelligence is a big topic as well. I'd say again, we've been talking a lot about like internal, external change. You know, for some people, we've talked about patience. Artists are the best to express patience without any helps. So I just want to bring the fact that everyone is different. And again, some people it's going to be easy. Some people needs a little kick to feel it, to express it. Some people it's just natural. And when it comes to emotional, what is tricky about this one is that I believe you need to learn how to control your emotions, but you need to learn as well how to express them. So there's a danger because when you try to just control them, people cannot connect with you. And when you just express them, people, they cannot feel that you're in control of what you're doing, actually. So when I talk about balance, it's always there. It's everywhere in life. And both are important. The danger is always in the extreme. Sure. But there's key value. So that's maybe the only input I'd like to add to this.
It makes me think of something I heard recently, which really resonated with me. And that is that emotion is data. So emotion is data, use it. And you said it, the extremes become a challenge. And I think just recognizing that how you felt in a certain circumstance and knowing what that feels like and experiencing it is important. So I say emotion is data.
Totally interpreted by the brains.
That's right.
The brains. So
that's exactly right. That creates that chemical reaction that gives you, you know, the feelings inside your body that cause you to do what you do. So I think we see it very similar. We're a lot of common threads, at least, which I think is cool. What I'd like to ask you, Alex, we ask all of our guests as we're wrapping up, which is a two-part question. So the first is, where do you want to see the industry in 10 years? And then the second is, where do you think it's going to go?
Well, where it's going to go, change will always be there. So it's going to go in the in the right direction all the time, I believe. Let's
the
be optimists. Let me be optimist. But I see a lot of positive change. Truly, I see a lot of positive change. A lot of different ways, different approach coming to the business, and I love it. I'd say in 10 years, I'd love to say that we found the ways or ability to make mining as attractive as the Amazon or Apple or Facebook or any of these that are more in the technology. So bring back this feeling of pride to work with the environment, to have an impact on life of others because of that, and make it something more sexy. Let's make that business something more fun to work within. I think it's totally possible, and it can happen within 10 years for sure. It can happen very fast, actually, when we want.
Yeah, okay, so I think I like the positive outlook. I think there is positive change. I think there's a subculture of us within the industry who want to see change and want to drive change for the better and for everyone. What do you think that will happen? I mean, I know that's what you want. That's what I want too. But do you think it will happen or not?
I think it will, because outside of the industry itself, the mining, there people are talking about the rise of awareness in general. People are being a bit more aware, and with the tools that we have, as the social tools that we have, those news, they spread very fast. I know it's the same thing for those where I don't like to say lack of awareness, but the good and the bad news can spread very fast, and the good and the wrong information can spread very fast with those social tools. But still, I do believe that when you step in awareness, it's really hard to go back. So, in a certain way, people, they just can do better with times. We improve maybe slightly, slowly, sometime, but all the time we've been improving for since the race, since human existed. So
Sure.
sometimes we don't feel like it, but when we look in the past, we see that actually almost every segment of what we're doing is better than what it was in the past.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. One of the Winston Churchill said something along the lines, I'm not going to get this exactly right, but he said something along the lines that a lie will make it around the world before the truth even has the opportunity to put its pants on. And I think the concept there is that negative or bad or gossip or whatever travels a lot faster than positivity. As a result of that, it's these conversations that you and I are having from the standpoint of, yes, we can get better. Yes, there are positive things going on. Yes, there are improvements. Yes, there are developments that I want to spread more to the industry, because I believe that there are a lot of positive things that we can be proud of and to make mining sexy again. So I think that I think there's a lot to that.
I'd say I'd love to answer to Mr. Churchill that actually what is interesting is that with the lies, what's going to happen, it doesn't last.
That's right.
Where the truth always lasts.
It's true.
So bringing this truth fact, because I don't like the word itself, but it takes times, but it stays, it remains. When it's there, it's there to remain. Where lies, as the times moves, they don't have their place. More and more as awareness comes, they spread fast, but they don't stay. So
I love it.
I'd say that's why I believe that change going to happen. Lies always easier because it takes less energy to lie than to find the truth. It doesn't need any self-development. And any developments includes a type of pain. So not a lot of people likes to do it, but it is the same pain that some people are doing for working out. There's no pain, no gain, you would say, but it's same thing with the brains.
Yep.
If you want to learn, you have to put the time to it, and it's painful in a different way.
Yep. I believe pain plus reflection equals progress.
It's just the way you use pain.
That's right. That's exactly right. No, that's great, Alex. I really appreciate it. appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the vulnerability. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. I think it's really, really powerful stuff. And I think that you're definitely a leader in our space in this line of thinking and your passion around the subject. So I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me today. Before we sign off, I'd like to let our listeners know the best way to get in touch with you, whether it's your like Progestis website, LinkedIn, whatever. How could people find more of what you're up to and what you're thinking?
Yeah, sure. I think the best place is LinkedIn at this moment. I'm still progressing within my development, so I don't share as much about my belief because I think I'm maybe not meticulous, but everything lies in the details. So I like to keep learning before starting to sharing. But for sure on LinkedIn, I'm pretty easy to reach out, and I'll be glad. I think that's how we come to this discussion today, just because I decided to have a chat with you on LinkedIn, and you decided to listen to me, and I think that's the key, and that's why we're here today.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. Well, last thing I'll say is fail forward every day, amigo.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing here. So, all right, Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. That was very, very nice to have this opportunity to talk with you. I think every time we have a chat, it's we feel the passion, and I love this about you. I love how you listen. So I can't wait for the next chat.
Thank you so much.